Alright, in this tutorial we are going to do a jump in After Effects using a relatively limited resource of a character because the character doesn't have any knees to create the squash, so we'll have to be a little creative in this process. I've imported all the assets and then I've scaled them to the right size that I'm happy with. I'm going to go ahead and select all the layers and I'll collapse them. So that's one way you can easily not only collapse and show things, but also to insert keyframes. If you have two computer screens, then you can take this timeline, click and drag this where it says my word here, and take it away and put it onto the second screen. So that would be great. I also have a shape layer which I've locked, and that's my ground plane. And so once I've done adding all of the assets and scaling them and arranging them in the right way I want to, you will need to parent them. So most of them are parented to the body, so the body is essentially what will drive everything else. Okay. The main point of this tutorial is to build on what we already know, squash and stretch with a bouncy ball, and as well as timing, and the new one of the 12 principles is pose to pose. So let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and select all of this, and that way it opens up and can see what I did here. So I let it sit for roughly 10 frames, and then I went ahead to the first pose. So I set that one up. I rotated what I needed to rotate after I turned on the stopwatch for most of the rotations. I think the body is the other one that has something a little different. So I have not only rotation but position as well. So I have this movement here. I hold that, and then a couple frames later I have our next position or our next pose. So we have our squash, which I rotated the body to make it appear like the character has knees and is bending. I hold it. The next pose is the stretch, then in the air, followed by the landing. The landing, we just have 1 foot on the ground or 2 feet on the ground. That is our next pose. The following pose after that would then be a squash to absorb the energy of gravity and the weight of the character, and following that up with our idle position, our standing position, which I forgot to mention, but it is our first pose. So pose 1 here, pose 2, which I hold, pose 3, toes are barely on the ground, in the air where we add our personality, point of contact again, we need a squash here, and then we have the standing position. Once we're happy with that, which I'm not quite there yet, add to render queue, and I will click on this, and then we'll have QuickTime and change the codec from QuickTime, because animation is going to be uncompressed, to H.264. Quality of 100 should be okay. Click OK, and click OK, and make sure you put the correct output to there, and that should do it for you. And this is the jump tutorial for the jump assignment.